You're live.
A lot of people have been talking about the big and beautiful bill. And while a lot of people have their opinions on it, really the only thing that matters is that it's passed and it's part of our economic reality for the next few years. So in this video, we're going to chat about what you should be investing in based on this bill.
Yeah, I think that, obviously a lot of people are still upset about it. Some people aren't. And I actually agree with both sides, right? But it is what it is. It's passed. And so there are some things that you should be paying attention to for sure, if you're going to take advantage of it, because it's here, right? You can't negotiate that. It's definitely here. So there are definitely some things that we want you to be able to take advantage of as we move forward. We're going to be talking about this at Limitless. So we'll be there this week.
Yep.
Hopefully see you guys in Dallas. You'll see us live. We're flying out tomorrow. We'll be there all week. So let's jump into it.
So let's talk about what is in the big and beautiful bill. So you have your tariffs on imports. 10% is the baseline. Obviously, Trump's negotiating all of that still. Corporate tax cuts from 21 to 15%, massive energy deregulation and fossil fuel incentives, bonus depreciation, and border infrastructure spending.
Yeah, so specifically when it comes to real estate, what does all that mean? Essentially, obviously, if you have a business or you're a real estate professional, please make sure, because you can't just buy real estate and not be a real estate professional to take advantage of some of these things. But that bonus depreciation, the cost segregation, all that stuff is huge. You guys might know that bonus depreciation under the Biden administration went from 100 to 80 to 60 to 40. Now went back up to 100. So what does that mean? What that means is as you start to renovate things, so the bonus depreciation, one of the things, as I've been explained, is it's considered a land improvement. So I've talked a lot about billboards in the past. So think of when we buy our billboards, they're on leased land. So that means you don't own the land. And that means the actual structure with the digital face, that's an actual land improvement. So that land improvement is considered part of bonus depreciation. So
why don't you explain what bonus depreciation is? Because I don't think everyone knows.
Yeah, it essentially means that you can write off 100% of the expense that year. Now, it doesn't have to be billboards. It can do lots of things. But essentially, you have to check with your tax professional. But when you spend money to rehab something, improve something, again, land improvement, then it might qualify underneath this bonus depreciation. And why is that important? It's important because in the case, we bought a billboard this year in Columbus, Ohio. It was about $1 million, and it does about 250 grand a year in cash flow. So now that $1 million, not all of it, but majority of it we can actually write off. So almost the entire investment, because we actually don't own the land. We actually have a lease. So this is a really important thing as you start to invest in real estate, as you're starting to look at what to invest in. I think it's really, really, really important that you take a look at some of these depreciation categories. And again, make sure you check with your tax professional. We will have a tax panel on this for Limitless, for those of you who might still be confused. Some of it is confusing, and I'm not a tax person, but I do know, because I asked, that there are lots of things related to real estate that fall in this category.
Yeah, and multifamily is one of those things. And so is things like intangible drilling costs, if you're in an oil-rich state, flex warehouse space, and those kind of things as well.
Yeah, so might be a strategy. So one of the strategies for us moving forward, obviously, and it should be for you, is find out what qualifies in the bonus depreciation and cost segregation, and then develop a strategy for that. So as part of that, so not only just looking at cash flow and those kinds of things, but looking at the depreciation part as a strategy. Because I can tell you from my own personal experience, a lot of our investors, especially now after Ross and I have been doing this for almost 30 years, a lot of them probably started out like some of you looking entirely for passive income and cash flow and that kind of stuff. But now, as things are transferring down to maybe their kids, or maybe they're just want to pull some cash out, people start to look at the tax benefits and the tax purposes. So less about cash flow and more about tax. Now, this is obviously if you're getting a little older, but there's an entire industry of people that are concerned about tax because they make a lot of money. And so this can be an excellent strategy for you if you utilize that on the front end and then build a investment strategy around that.
Yeah, and the second thing you should focus on is just rentals in general, but you have to look at what rentals are going to do good right now. And you're going to have to go to rentals that obviously have a strong migration, which we've always talked about. But now that they're putting so much money towards these border towns, that is going to up the infrastructure there, right? If there's going to be more jobs around the border, then those cities are going to flourish and they're going to need rentals that they might not have yet.
Yeah. So as an example, Ross and I, many of you might have heard of, or maybe not, a little town called Sierra Vista, Arizona. Now, it's oddly enough, it's near the border of Arizona and Mexico. And so being from Phoenix, obviously I knew about Sierra Vista. Now, most of the time, you probably wouldn't be looking at building there. But Ross and I, or buy there, Ross and I bought land and we built like a 250 unit property down there. We still own it today. And it's in a border town. And why would we do that? There's a couple of reasons. One, there's a military base there called Fort Huachuca. Fort Huachuca has it's an information base, among other things. And so, but also, guess what's in that town? A border patrol headquarters, not the border patrol headquarters, but a border patrol headquarters. So again, to Danille's point. So if you start to take a look at some of these little towns, you might find these opportunities where they're starting to, add more people to shore up some of these kinds of things. And I think that's kind of the point here. So we've been doing that in Sierra Vista. It's been wildly successful in what I would call a third tier town, because you got Phoenix, you got Tucson, which is actually second tier, and then you got a little town like Sierra Vista. So sometimes these little towns can be extremely profitable. They can also go boom and bust pretty quickly with the strike of a pen. Because I've also been on the other side of that, where you have military bases deployed, and all of a sudden you lose a bunch of people. So be careful. It's not for the faint of heart sometimes.
And you can see this too with energy production zones, since energy is such a focus of this bill. So, Texas, North Dakota, Oklahoma, they're probably going to do pretty well on housing needs right now because energy production is going to be up. Also, your industrial and flex space, because, these tariffs are going to bring so many jobs into the US. They're going to have places to make and store all of this stuff. So industrial and flex space is going to do really well in the next few years.
Right. Which, by the way, they're on fire right now. If you guys they were already on fire because of what they call last mile distribution. So last mile distribution is like basically you order something on Amazon at 9 a.m. and you basically want it by 2. Well, if whatever you're ordering is across the U.S., it's going to be much more difficult. So last mile means that and this has been going on for a while. They basically are taking those goods that you would have normally bought, and they're bringing it to a city near you, and so that you can get it much quicker, faster. So the industrial community has just been on fire for a while. The one thing I want to mention about energy, and this is kind of new, it should not be too much of a surprise, but I think in a year from now, you guys are going to see the power grid, the power needs for AI is unbelievable. So these data centers, even nuclear power, and I know a lot of people, are against it. I'm telling you, you're going to start to see, in my opinion, if you just take a look around the world as compared to the rest of the world, we're lagging behind on nuclear power. Now, I'm not the person to say is it good or bad. I'm not same with coal or hydroelectric or any of that kind of stuff. But I can tell you this: we have a severe power need. One of the panels that we were doing at Limitless this week, one of the experts is in the commercial industrial area in the Dallas market, And they said they can't build these things fast enough, and it takes 6 years to get power. So power's starting to be something that I think you're going to see more of an issue, and the government and local and federal are going to have to jump in. So I would keep your eye around these kinds of power centers because they're creating massive jobs. I know for a fact that Meta, Google, they're doing massive campuses for AI in areas like Memphis. And so as you start to look at you just want to be ahead of this. Obviously, like in Memphis, they're already under construction. So you already know there's going to be people there. So you already know there's going to be a need for housing, both on the purchase side, on the rental side. So whenever something like that goes in Phoenix, it's the Taiwan semiconductor plant, right? It's going to bring like 10,000 plus jobs. So it's going to be a boon for that area. So these are the things that you need to be watching with this administration, and people are going to be taking advantage of these tax policies, these loopholes, these things, and also just technology as it continues to grow.
Absolutely. And something else to look out for is commodities and hard assets. And we've also already seen this with the run on gold and Bitcoin right now. Trump came out today saying that he wants a weak dollar because a weak dollar is, better for the US. But a weak dollar also means that things like crypto and gold and real estate can all go up when the dollar is weak.
Right. So if you take a look at 1 year ago, gold, for example, was just about a little over 2,000 an ounce. Today, it's over 3,000 an ounce. So why would gold go up $1,000 in 1 year? Now, again, I'm not advocating you go buy gold, but you need to look at the whole picture, right? And the same thing with Bitcoin. So what happened when the dollar becomes weak? People start moving their money into other kinds of things, and so that's the important thing. I'm not pitching Bitcoin here. I'm just trying to tell you that when Trump comes out and says he wants a weak dollar, it means something to other people. It means something to people that hold dollars. It means something to people that are actually getting paid in dollars. And it also means something if your retirement is based in dollars, or even if you have a savings account in dollars. And so just know that if that's a strategy of the government, that there are things that you can do to move the needle around, to not be at such a disadvantage to, let's say, in the savings account. Because what that really means is that your dollars, if they're in savings, are going to buy you less, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially, that's what that means.
Absolutely. And then there are certain small businesses that are really good in this kind of economy. You do have to remember our economy is slowing down. So luxury businesses are probably not the first thing you should be reaching for. But with the big, beautiful bill, there was a lot of things that passed that certain businesses are going to do really well. So let's talk about the first one is obviously any kind of industry in the US, right? Any kind of domestic industry that was coming from China, but now has to be done in the US is going to be a good spot to be in, whether you're actually operating the business or just owning the real estate, either or.
Yeah, so we just had a dinner with a friend that actually manufactured things here, moved it to China about 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And when the tariffs hit, he had I think he had $4 or $5 million of inventory over there that now he's having to bring into Canada. And so now he said that he's having to bring the manufacturing back to the U.S., which is exactly, obviously, what this administration wants. So what does that mean? He had a lot of employees. He went down to just enough to be able to manufacture in China, and then now he's back here again. So what it's done is he's buying all the stuff locally, having it made, manufactured locally. And a lot of these businesses that are buying things from another country, even having them assembled here, they're out scrambling right now, trying to figure out how to keep their business going locally. And sometimes that's with another country, but sometimes that's locally. So that's what Danille's talking about. And this primarily, whether you believe it or not, or whether you agree with Trump or not, it's happening. So he's definitely trying to bring jobs back into the U.S. Now, how much they cost? Whether that's going to be inflationary, different topic. But from a housing standpoint, you just need to know that this is happening right now. We're seeing a lot of friends and family that are having to figure out how to get their stuff made locally to survive, because most of their business was done outside of the US and then assembled here or distributed here.
Absolutely. And then the second one is going to be blue collar services, like HVAC, plumbing, all this new energy production and facilities, and all the industry coming back to the US is going to put more demand on those services. And also going into a weaker economy, that is one thing people need, is their AC fixed, their plumbing done. These aren't luxury purchases.
Yeah, and mark my words, guys, like these are the next 10 years, the next decade's millionaires. I'm telling you right now, like AI is wiping out, call it that entry level white collar, which is unfortunate for sure. But if you call a handyman, you guys already know this. Like our handyman went from basically $30 or $40 an hour to 50 to 60 to 70. I think they're about 90 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a period of 3 or 4 years. And so that older trade, my dad did this. The colleges kind of I guess absconded from all those young kids that would have normally gone into those trades, because back in my day there was a whole system of journeymen coming in and working with trades, and but that's gone. So there's a huge gap of people. We're seeing this in the maintenance side of our apartment buildings, and I know plenty of people are having this. And this next decade, it's the year for people that know how to do the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and those companies are on fire right now.
Yep.
And then to Danille's point, that's just going to get even more, because now a lot of those products, I'm talking about the physical products, they're going to be made here locally. So I think if you're investing, starting, considering, that's a market that's not going away. It's severely undersupplied.
Absolutely. And we also need to talk about the energy support businesses, right? Because, we're so used to having white collar jobs, accountants, CPAs, marketing, all these things, and they're not mentioned in this list. This is getting back to blue collar. So when you have energy businesses, you need businesses that, support them, like diesel repair, machine repair, all these kind of things. So when you're looking to start a business, that could be a great business, depending on your area, is things that can support these energy businesses.
Yeah, or real estate in markets where that's heavy. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, these businesses, we had a friend actually trying to buy. He started a low voltage company, and then he actually ended up in the AC business. And he's been starting these little businesses, and he's crushing it. And he's been trying to find others, and he can't find anyone that wants to sell right now, because there's way more business than that's needed.
Absolutely. And then if we get into the next one, it would be food and service businesses in boom towns. We're even seeing this a little bit in like Little Coeur d'Alene up here. There's a lot of food trucks and things now, because there's not a lot of infrastructure in some of these towns.
And rent. Who wants to pay that kind of rent,
who wants
right?
To pay rent. So there's a lot of different, food service businesses that are going to be catering to these smaller towns where they don't have a lot of options. I mean, sometimes we drive into towns and there'll be like 5 restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's something to watch too, as the food costs and labor costs and all that stuff goes up. I think you're going to start to see a little more mobility here, because again, I know we're in the rental business, but rent and overhead is a huge piece that crushes a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Food is also a piece, but most small businesses, if they're not really well located, they really struggle. It's really interesting. And they have to have heavy marketing and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes they just don't know how. And so I think you're going to see a lot more of this. This is another industry that's going to pop up. And we have one area in town here that's brand new, that they basically just took an open parking lot and set it up for food trucks. And they're basically there. There's like 10 of them. With an area you can pull up and park and just sit out on picnic benches and stuff like that. And we're starting to see more and more of that. These kind of started a little bit like in Austin and Dallas. We've seen these along Congress before. But now I think you're going to see a lot more because anybody can have a parking lot and create a food truck court, for people, especially if it's in a really good area.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some things that you don't want to invest in, right? Because a lot of people are looking at starting businesses in this kind of economy. So any kind of e-commerce, right? They're getting crushed, and a lot of them, unless your margins were amazing, are, having to go out of business because it doesn't work domestically.
Right. I'd be careful in that. I'd be careful with virtual assistants, to be honest. I mean, I know that industry just kind of got ramped up. And I know, we're talking about $8, $10 an hour stuff, but now ChatGPT, the bots, accounting, HR, all that stuff, we're starting to see creep in. The bookkeeping is insane what you can do now, just by putting that stuff in. We had a friend the other day that went and got his blood work done and put it into ChatGPT and said, what would the doctor tell me to do? And it kicked out a whole protocol.
Well, based on a certain doctor.
Yeah, based on a certain doctor. Then he took it to his doctor, and it was pretty darn close. It wasn't exact, but it was close enough. So it's very interesting. So I talked to the doc. I'm like, so what does that tell you? Like all of a sudden, so these things, they don't seem like much, but they're starting to creep up.
Yeah. And based on the big, beautiful bill, you also need to be careful with green energy because obviously Trump is not for green energy and he doesn't like it, where that was very popular under Biden. So that was a lot of money went into that. So not a lot of money is going into green energy now. So I would not go in that direction.
Yeah, you heard him. He just went on a rant yesterday about the windmills.
Yeah, he doesn't like the windmills.
He made this big deal with the UK, which many of you might know about now, obviously around the trade, which is actually going to be huge for us, right? Oddly enough, it made sense when he said it, but now they're going to have to, we're going to have our cars for sale there and all kinds of things for sale in Europe. Which is obvious now that he said it, but he's talking about these windmills. He said basically they have an 8-year span. You can't get they're expensive to maintain. You get basically less than 10 years out of them, and then he said that the blades and all the components or stuff are toxic, and they're all made in China. So now it's Trump.
I mean, this was Trump.
Yeah. So we're not entirely sure. We have to fact check all that, but that's what he said. So he's, to your point, he is not going to be pumping this green energy.
And he hasn't went after this yet, but I would be careful with the offshoring. I wouldn't be careful if you're going to hire somebody offshore because you can just easily make that switch. But if you want to start a business that is offshoring its work, that is something else that this administration may go after because they really want it to be America first. Yeah. So I guess what we wanted to go over is the big, beautiful bill. It's not just about stocks or, bonus depreciation. It really is about you taking advantage of the tax laws because we're really big on that, right? Because everyone always says, oh, this isn't fair. That's not fair. And that's fine. But really, you just have to play by whatever set of rules the administration that's in power gives you. And this is a good blueprint for you when you're looking to get started in something.
Yeah. And take a look at the whole picture. Like for those of you who might be heavy in gold, one thing that we have a sponsor, Monetary Metals, which we'll show you right now. Like there's a way to monetize that and lease it out. So take a look.
Gold is near all-time highs, but appreciation isn't the only way to benefit. Monetary Metals, you could potentially earn a yield on your gold, paid in physical gold, without selling it. Here's how it works. When you lease your gold through their platform, pre-qualified companies pay to use it under strict guidelines, like renting out real estate, but with gold. Instead of paying to store your metal, you may earn up to 4% annually in gold. You stay in control and you can choose which leases to participate in. Monetary Metals handles the due diligence, lease terms, and all the administration. Thousands of investors use this approach to grow their gold, not just sit on it. Visit monetary-metals.com/Ken to learn more. Leasing gold involves risk and returns are not guaranteed. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities. Please review all risk disclosures at monetary-metals.com. Visit monetary-metals.com/Ken to learn more.
So now let's talk about the Fed.
Well, let's talk about what a big week we have in general. So the Fed's meeting, a bunch of earnings reports are coming out, the jobs reports coming out. So
we got Limitless.
We will definitely know how the economy is doing in the next few days based on these.
This is a big week, by the way. Like this, in my opinion, this week is going to set the tone for the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not just because of Limitless. Obviously, we got all kinds of people coming to that. Hopefully see you guys. If you're in Dallas, there's still some tickets. LimitlessExpo.com. We'd love to see you guys there. We'll be there all week down at the Gaylord Texan. But this week is big because, as you guys know, Trump is all over Powell. And I don't think Powell's budget.
Right. No, it doesn't seem like he is.
It doesn't seem like it. But
yeah, you never know. I mean, there's definitely more pressure on him to lower rates this time than there has been in the past. So it really could go either way. Most likely he's going to hold. But, you have your jobs report coming out. And I was reading too, and we need to look back on this for next week, is it's not just about this job report, but the edited job reports from the last 2 months, right? So we need to kind of see, because they always edit the job report,
They always
so
overstate and then readjust.
Right. So what the readjusted numbers were, because that's going to be really important too. And that is something the Fed has to consider, is the readjusted numbers as well.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you guys this week in Dallas. Appreciate you watching as always, and let's crush it.
All right. See you guys next week.